The sound of glass shattering echoed in the quiet kitchen, followed by the desperate sob of a little girl. Milk streamed down from her hair, soaking through her dress, dripping onto the baby she cradled in her trembling arms. Her stepmother towered over her, face twisted in rage, clutching an empty jug as though victory had been won. The girl's small voice cracked through the silence. "Please, Mommy. I'm sorry." She was not her real mother, but fear forced her to use the word. In that instant, the door creaked open, and a man in an immaculate brown suit froze at the doorway, briefcase slipping from his hand. His eyes widened, his jaw tightened, and a thunderous word escaped his lips: "Stop. If you believe no child deserves cruelty, and that kindness and second chances can change lives, then please take a moment to like this video, comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel Kindness Corner. Your support spreads these powerful messages of love and compassion to more hearts around the world." The little girl's name was Emily. She was only 7, but life had already carved into her tender soul wounds deeper than most adults could bear. Her real mother had passed away 3 years ago, leaving her father devastated and lost. In the loneliness of grief, he had remarried quickly, hoping to rebuild the broken pieces of his family. But his choice, though well-intentioned, brought darkness into Emily's childhood. Her new stepmother, Vanessa, wore a mask of charm and elegance in public, but behind closed doors her temper ruled the house like a storm. Emily's days were filled with chores too heavy for her small body, with blame for mistakes she never made, with punishments that left her sobbing quietly in corners while holding her baby brother, Alex. She had become both sister and mother to him, cradling him in her arms when Vanessa's voice thundered, whispering lullabies when fear shook his tiny frame. For Emily, her brother was her only source of light, the only reason she endured. That morning had begun like so many others. The sunlight spilled into the kitchen, warm and golden, yet the house itself felt cold. Emily had accidentally dropped a bowl of cereal while trying to feed her brother. The bowl shattered, the milk spread across the floor, and Vanessa's fury erupted like fire. "You useless child," she had screamed before seizing the jug of milk and emptying it over Emily's head. Emily's eyes burned with humiliation as she clutched her brother tighter, shielding him from the splash, whispering apologies through her sobs. At that exact moment, her father, Richard, returned home unexpectedly. Richard was a successful businessman, a man who had built his empire from nothing, and yet had lost sight of what mattered most, his children's happiness. He had been blind, too consumed with work, too trusting of Vanessa's polished exterior. But that day, when he walked into his kitchen and saw his daughter on the floor, drenched in milk, cradling her crying baby brother while Vanessa loomed over them, something inside him shattered. The sight pierced him deeper than any boardroom betrayal, any financial loss. "Stop," his voice thundered through the house, silencing everything. Vanessa's face paled as she spun around, words scrambling on her tongue, excuses ready to form. But Richard wasn't looking at her. His eyes were locked on Emily, his little girl, trembling, shivering, and yet still protecting her brother. In that moment, he saw everything he had missed, the fear in her eyes that wasn't new, the way her small shoulders carried burdens far too heavy, the way she looked at him with both hope and hesitation, as though unsure if he would believe her suffering. Richard rushed forward, dropping to his knees beside his children. He took the baby gently into his arms, then wrapped the other around Emily, pulling her close. The smell of milk, the sound of her sobs, the sight of her drenched hair sticking to her cheeks, all of it seared into his heart. He whispered apologies that could never undo the pain, but Emily's arms clung to him desperately, as though afraid he might disappear. Vanessa tried to speak, her voice sharp and defensive. She spun lies about Emily being careless, about teaching her responsibility. But Richard had seen the truth with his own eyes. His voice was calm, almost too calm, as he turned to Vanessa and said, "Pack your things. You are leaving this house today." Her protests echoed, but his decision was final. For years, he had overlooked the small signs, dismissed the unease, convinced himself Emily was adjusting. But the truth was undeniable now, and nothing mattered more than protecting his children. The days that followed were not easy. Emily was fragile, her trust fractured. At night she would wake from nightmares, clutching her brother, afraid that Vanessa would return. Richard stayed by her side, rocking her gently, whispering promises that she would never be hurt again. He realized the empire he had built meant nothing if it cost him the joy and innocence of his children. He began working less, coming home earlier, cooking dinner with Emily at his side, laughing together as they spilled flour and learned new recipes. Slowly, Emily began to heal. Her laughter returned in small bursts, hesitant at first, then more freely as she began to feel safe again. She still held Alex close, protective as always, but now she had her father's unwavering presence to share the burden. Richard too was healing. He learned to be present, to cherish the sound of Emily's giggles, to treasure the quiet moments of holding his children close. But what stood out most was Emily's resilience. Despite the cruelty she endured, her heart remained tender. One evening, months later, Richard found her sitting by the window, humming a lullaby to her brother. He sat beside her and asked softly, "Do you hate her, Emily?" referring to Vanessa. Emily shook her head slowly. "No, Daddy. I just don't want her to hurt anyone else." Her words pierced him, so much pain endured, yet no bitterness. Her heart remained pure, filled with a strength far beyond her years. Richard realized then that Emily's kindness was her greatest strength, one that even cruelty could not extinguish. And in her strength, he found his own redemption. He vowed to give her the childhood she deserved, filled with love, safety, and joy. This story is a reminder that children are the most innocent souls among us, and no success, no wealth, no ambition is worth their tears. It is love, presence, and kindness that matter most. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind the world of the power of love, compassion, and second chances. Before we end, we have a special request. Please leave a comment with the words "Love protects" if you believe every child deserves kindness and safety. And so, Emily's tears slowly turned into laughter, her fear into trust, her loneliness into warmth. All because one day, a father opened his eyes, shouted "Stop," and chose love over everything else.